Welcome to Kevin's Corner, where truth is diligently sought, deliberately taught, and dauntlessly defended. My name is Kevin Probst, and today, on April the 7th in 2026, I want to take you inside one of the most shocking moments in Jesus' ministry. Imagine sitting in a church, and the preacher suddenly says, "You must eat my flesh and drink my blood to live." That's exactly what Jesus said, and it shocked everyone in the room. So we'll look at John 6, verses 47 through 58. And in that passage, he said that he alone is the bread of life, and that true belief in him is not mere mental agreement, but a wholehearted trust that receives his sacrifice and clings to him for eternal life. By calling people to eat his flesh and drink his blood, he points to his coming death on the cross as the only way that sinners can truly live. So Jesus is preaching in the synagogue in Capernaum, a small fishing village on the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee. And Capernaum was the home base of his earthly ministry, and for 3 years, this is where he lived, where he walked and healed and taught. And the synagogue would have been full. The people came to hear him. What they heard stunned them. "Truly I tell you," he said, "anyone who believes has eternal life. I am the bread of life." And when Jesus said, "Anyone who believes in me has eternal life," what did they think? In our modern world, believe is often reduced to mental agreement. People think belief means acknowledging certain facts about Jesus, that he existed, that he was good, that he was a teacher, that he was a prophet, maybe even that he is the Son of God. But that is not what Jesus meant. To believe in him is to entrust yourself to him. It is to cling to him, to commit to him, to hold fast to who he claims to be. Real belief moves the heart and directs the will. It changes allegiance. It becomes visible. And here's what made his words so explosive. The prophets had always said, "Believe in God," but Jesus said, "Believe in me. If you do, you will not die. You'll live forever." And this is not the language of a mere teacher. This is a claim to divinity. And then he repeats it, "I am the bread of life." Bread was essential to daily survival. It was not a luxury. It was life. Without bread, you weaken. Without food, you die. And Jesus says just as clearly, "You may survive physically without me for a time, but you cannot live spiritually without me." Your ancestors ate manna in the wilderness, and they died. But the bread that comes down from heaven gives life that death cannot touch. Jesus said, "I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he will live forever." And if we deprive ourselves of physical food long enough, death follows. If we refuse to partake of Christ, to trust him, to receive him, to rest in his sacrifice, spiritual death follows. On those blistering summer afternoons here in west central Georgia, you can watch deer move slowly toward the nearest stream, desperate for water. They lower their heads and they drink deeply. They do not sip, they slurp because they must have water. And that is the image that comes to mind from Psalm 42. "As the deer longs for flowing streams, so I long for you, God." That is how we are meant to desire Jesus. Yet some in the synagogue ask, "How can this man give us his flesh to eat?" They miss the point entirely. It is astonishing how people can twist words and cling to literalism when it suits them and ignore obvious metaphor when truth confronts their pride. Anyone listening carefully would have understood that Jesus was not advocating cannibalism. He was pointing forward to sacrifice. And then he doubles down on the metaphor. "Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you do not have life in yourselves." Those words must have shocked the room. flesh, blood, eating, drinking. To Jewish ears, that language would have sounded offensive. But sacrifice was embedded in their history, and blood meant atonement, and flesh meant offering. And Jesus was declaring that he would give his body. He would shed his blood. He would lay down his life so that sinners could live. This is not grotesque language. It is glorious language. It is the language of substitution, the language of redemption, the language of the cross. And the greatest display of love in the history of mankind, here's the invitation. Partake, receive, trust. Believe in a way that binds you to him. And the one who eats this bread will live forever. Not might live, not could live, will live. Jesus did not come to offer suggestions. He came to offer himself. The question is not whether you understand every word. The question is, will you receive him, trust him, and live? That is the promise. Thank you so much for taking time from your busy day and allowing me to share with you from Kevin's Corner. Please help me share truth with others by liking and sharing this video. Also, please subscribe to Kevin's Corner on YouTube and Substack. And until next time, live bravely and courageously.